Hey guys, I'm Vincelex from Dracarys, here to go over our raid stamp support setup. I have played stamp support for about a year now, and although some players claim it is boring and skillless, it is actually one of the most crucial roles in a raid. In PvP, many skills have immobilizations or snares built into them. Without an effective stamp support, raids will sit and damage and die. Healers cannot heal if they cannot move. Damage dealers can't do damage if they cannot move. In the most essential sense, the stamp support is the foundation block of a raid, and a raid will never be effective without one. Let's go over my skill bars. Some skills are essential, others are personal preference. This is a guideline and should be altered to fit your playstyle and your raid's playstyle. Starting with my front bar. The first skill I have is Dark Deal. One of the reasons Sorc is the best for stamp support is Dark Deal. It turns a resource you barely use, Magicka, into a resource you use all the time, Stamina. The next skill I have is Vigor. Either morph is good, I just prefer Resolving. As a stamp support, it is hard to get light attacks in or find opportunities to build ultimate, so it is essential to have Vigor on to build ultimate through healing. The healing done is not important, but the ultimate gain from it is. The next skill I have is Heroic Slash. Again, with the same reasoning as Vigor, it is hard to find time to build ultimate as a stamp support, so having Heroic Slash and when you have time, getting a light attack in with a Heroic Slash is of the utmost importance to quickly build ultimate. The next skill is Retreating Maneuvers, your main skill as a stamina support. You want to use this skill if not every second, no more than 5 seconds apart from each cast. Your main job is not to do damage, crowd control, or anything else other than to provide constant snare and immobilization immunity to your raid and give them 30% more movement speed. Sometimes you may even forgo your own buffs to keep constant speed up on the raid. Also keep in mind that this skill has a 20 meter radius, so you do not have to be directly on top of somebody to provide speed. When considering the aim of your role as a stamina support, you are there to ensure the raid can move together at the same rate and are not being rooted and slowed at the back. As well as this, you need to ensure that the players can freely move amongst enemies while bombing. Essentially, the other players in your raid are the people you are fighting to give this retreating maneuvers buff to. Healers will be constantly removing it while healing, supports while purging, and others just by doing damage. This is why it's a constant fight to keep this buff up on the group as long as possible during combat situations. To be a good stamina support, you need to feel how often the raid is removing their rapids and how much they are being rooted and slowed because of it, versus what the situation demands. For example, if you are simply running between 2 cubes without enemies on you, there is no need to cast rapids every second. You might just need to go to the people at the back and cast it so they can catch up. Versus in a fight when there are countless roots and snares occurring, the buff might always need to be applied. I am personally casting it almost every second as well as moving within the raid to ensure those at the back are never left behind. The last skill I have on my bar is Bound Armaments. I use this skill for the extra 8% max stamina as well as the 20% extra stamina regen you get from the Daedric Summoning passive tree. This skill should be double barred. The ultimate I run is Absorption Field. This is your main ultimate. Negate is incredibly powerful as it removes any enemy ground effects and prevents any Magicka skills and ultimates from being casted while within it. I use Absorption Field because as a stamina support I run very low damage anyway, so I might as well run a Healing Negate. And I also use Earth Core, which the Healing Negate can proc. Moving on to my back bar. The first skill I run there is Deadly Cloak. Deadly Cloak is one of the only 2 buffs I run as a stamp support. This skill gives me 25% damage mitigation against area effect abilities like Destro Ultimate, Proxy Detonation, Sleet Storm, Siege, or anything of that nature, which is very important as we are in 7-piece medium armor. The next skill I run is Streak, or Ball of Lightning. This is an important mobility skill that can ensure you keep up with the raid if you fall behind or are getting focused. A dodge roll into a streak can help shrug off a lot of damage. I would recommend Ball of Lightning for those not as comfortable being a stamina support, as it is more defensive and can help mitigate a lot of single target focus. Hurricane. This is my second and only other buff. I use this for the major resolve and ward as well as the minor expedition it grants me, allowing me to be slightly faster than my raid, which helps me position better and catch up if I fall behind. Anti-Cavalry Caltrops. This is a skill to place in choke points or in the middle of enemies. This skill applies a 30% snare that can slow enemies down for damage dealers, or if you are retreating. The ultimate I run on my back bar is Overload. I backbar Overload for the usage of a third bar where I can place situational utility skills. On my Overload bar I run Rearming Trap, Siege Shield, Daedric Mines, Retreating Maneuvers in case I get stuck on this bar, and bound armaments to constantly keep the buff on. Let's move on to the Mundus stone, the potions I use, the race I am, and the food I eat. The Mundus stone you want to use is the Serpent, because it grants extra stamina regen. The potions I use are movable potions with health and stamina. The race I use is Wood Elf. Wood Elf is by far the best race for stamina support because of the extra 21% stamina regen you get. Other viable options are also Orc and Redguard. I am also a Vampire for the extra 10% regen for being stage 2. There are 2 options for food for stamina support. The first being Dubious Cameron Throne, and the second being Orzoga's Triple Trifle Pocket. I have used both before, and I currently use Orzoga's. The type of food you use depends on where your stats are at and what you need more of. Let's move on to the gear. I use 7 medium armor as stamina support. It is very important you use 7 medium armor for the maximum amount of regen and cost reduction you get. Max stats do not mean much to a stamina support. There is no difference between having 26k stam or 28k stam if you cannot apply rapids non-stop. Like our healers, there are different setups a stam support in Dracarys can run, and I'm going to go over the 3 different setups I use and have used, starting with the static 5-piece on the body, Marksman. It gives weapon damage and recovery, and then a 5% cost reduction on stamina abilities. This 5% equals around a 600 cost reduction on your rapids, which is a large amount considering the base cost of rapids is almost 8,000 stamina. Earthcore. The other static armor set I wear is Earthcore for my monster helm. The reason being that Earthcore at the moment is extremely strong as both another negate in raid and a large AoE heal. The other option for a monster helm is Bloodspawn, for quicker ulti gen and more regen. If you are struggling with sustain, you could also use 1-piece Bloodspawn and 1-piece Swarm Mothers for the extra regen, but I would recommend Earthcore for any raid. Now, moving on to the interchangeable 5-piece setups I run. Starting with Plague Doctor. I would recommend any new stam supports to first try Plague Doctor, as it gives you a lot of extra health, which helps when you are learning positioning and what you need to do. The second setup I would run is Hircine. Hircine is another good set to run, as it gives an extra 12% stamina regen, not only to yourself, but to 11 other members in your group. If you are running more than one stam support in your raid, one of them should definitely be in Hircine. The last set, which I am currently wearing in our raids, is Eben. Eben is similar to Plague Doctor in that it gives a lot of health, with the difference being that it gives an extra 1000 health to 11 other members of your group, which will also make them more tanky. I use decisive weapons for quicker ulti gen, with drain stamina poisons for extra regen. Like all our other builds, we have stat goals that must be reached. 28k health is the minimum amount you want to have, and at least 3500 stamina regen unbuffed. I would recommend at least 25k stamina, as it gets hard to maintain rapids even with high regen lower than that. Last but not least is the CP. Again, this is a guideline. Starting with the green tree, I run 31 in Warlord for more break-free cost reduction, 100 in Mooncalf for the 15% extra stamina regen, 19 in Tenacity to get more resources on my heavy attacks, 56 in Tumbling because I dodge roll a lot to mitigate damage, 23 in Shadow Ward to ensure I don't lose too much stamina from blocking when I need to, and finally 1 in Siphoner to apply debuffs on my light and heavy attacks. In my blue tree, I run 100 in Bless to increase any heals I do with Earthgore, Vigor, and my Negate, 10 in Elfborn just to increase the crit heals of my Negate, 100 in Precise Strike to increase my Vigor crits, and 20 in Mighty to get the Last Stand passive, which grants major heroism if I drop to 20% health or below. In my red tree, I run 61 in Ironclad, 25 in Resistant, 56 in Thick Skin to reduce Destro damage, siege damage, or anything like that, 32 in Hardy, because in a raid I am almost never dying due to physical damage, so I do not put as many points in there as to buff up my magic defenses, and 56 in Elemental Defender. This concludes my stamina support guide. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below or contact me in game. Thanks for watching.